So it's important to know, like, my channel, some people have accused me of being like, this is a men's rights thing because the issue now is for victims that are men. But I
Mm-hmm.
assure people, you can take an inventory. Most of the time, the issue has been men being the one harassing the women. As far as what I've covered in my channel, I've always
Mm-hmm.
said this: the most dangerous man in a woman's life statistically is a man she knows, an uncle, a friend, an ex. That's what we're working with. So I don't want to shed any, or I don't want to dismiss any circumstance where the man is the perpetrator. We know that can happen, and that does happen.
Mm-hmm.
This
Mm-hmm.
case that is reaching its fever pitch is a case where a woman weaponized a lot of people's sympathies towards female victims and used that to weaponize it into dating contracts with these men by getting orders of protection against them and all these crazy things. So yeah, that's the case which I started following in the fall. I've been accused of being obsessed about it and monetizing it and all these things. But the truth is, this lady, I'll call her Jane Doe, you call her whatever you want, but this lady entered an arena that I was kind of running, which is covering Bachelor content.
Mm-hmm.
So she kind of fucked with somebody who she couldn't get a restraining order against me. She tried. It was
Mm-hmm.
dismissed in the Los Angeles Superior Court. She sued me for harassment. She dismissed that. She's written articles about me. She's done all these things to smear me. And all I've continued to do is not say her name, share her story, and share the stories of these four men: Matt, Mike, Greg, and Clayton, along with other men who she had lawsuits against, who have all had to deal with hundreds of $1,000s in legal fees due to essentially not wanting to date her.
I mean, when you start listening to, and the only reason I became aware of this, by the way, is massive shout out to Megan Fox, who was covering the story and covering it through you, like kind of been like, hey, I found out the story Dave Neal's been covering and so on, and like basically introduced me to the story, everybody to the story. And I was absolutely blown away because I was like, what is this woman doing? Like the whole tonsil twins thing, like the whole, I mean, she wasn't even pregnant. Like she actually faked a pregnancy, allegedly, I should say. But it's really crazy when you find out that how crazy women can be. And I know everybody knows that women can be crazy, but like just how crazy when you start going down the rabbit hole, it's actually kind of like
Yeah, I mean, look,
what?
like I've said that, like, trust me, I have to bring up both sides because there is a whole market for men who have to get their drywall replaced because they punched a hole in the wall because their
Mhm.
Steelers team lost. Like men have their own rage issues. It's not one versus
Sure.
the other. If we were the genders that got pregnant, there absolutely would be fake pregnancies and all those
Mhm.
things. That would just happen. You to the extent that there are like crazy people on the spectrum, those crazy people would use whatever they can. Now, what
Mhm.
we've learned is most people that fake cancer also fake pregnancy. There is a thing that happens where you fake something where you don't think people can call you out. And with medical records being privileged, a lot of people that do fake these things would fake one versus the other.
Mhm.
Information we found recently was that she also faked cancer.
Oh my God.
I'm being threatened with lawsuits up to $140 million by her attorney. And all I can do is, with every single threat, continue double down on the sheer facts of the case. I have
Yes.
audio, voicemails from her to some of these victims where she admits to them, in Arizona, which is a one-party state for recording, where she admits that she's pregnant with twins. Then we find out that the ultrasound she's referencing has a Fiverr logo attached to it. We find
I
this
saw.
crazy stuff out that you wouldn't possibly know if you were just looking at your phone. But when you look, the further you look into documents and things, you start to see these patterns. And we did it live on my channel where we looked in on this ultrasound, and I go, dang, there's like a something happening there. Like you could almost see in the chaos something developing. They go, those are letters. What does it spell? Dive? What does it spell? Like Mr. I couldn't, and someone goes, it spells Fiverr. And I was like, oh, so I take a Fiverr logo and I place it directly over this. So what probably happened was she either hired Fiverr to make this ultrasound, or she found it and just stole it and thought that she ran like sort of a logo removing feature. But when you remove the logo, it's not like a clear, solid color. It's not easy.
No,
There's
it
like,
leaves like the little outline, right? Yeah.
the outline is, so I cannot look at this ultrasound and not see the fiber
Not see
logo
it.
where nobody saw it. We found this out a couple weeks ago. We have seen this logo for we had seen this
Do you
ultrasound for
have a
8
picture
months.
that we can pull up of the fiber thing? Do you have that access to
I
that so we
will.
can?
I will find a copy right in my on my hard drive, and I'll present it here. It's absolutely wild the type of things we found, and all her lawyer does is say, "No, we don't believe that's real. We don't believe that's true." And it goes on and on and on. So I'll share with you, if you don't mind here, I'll share with you a
No.
video file that is the first ultrasound we proved that was complete fabrication. She denies that she ever sent this, even though we have this ultrasound just dead to right hers. Like, we have this ultrasound video as coming from her email. We have this ultrasound video as uploaded in her Dropbox. Like, everything about it is hers. And let's see, I've got it right there if you want to pull it up. And you'll see on the right is hers, and on the left is one that's 6 years old. Now, I did this on my own. I did.
You are not the father.
So then all she does, sorry, I forgot that there was some audio there.
That's right.
So the audience, the flock, these ragtag team of investigative vigilantes, they've all done the research to find this out. So can you go back to the beginning, or I can right there. So on the left is a 6-year-old ultrasound. It's like a 3-minute video. Her version on the right is like a 90-second video. Her version cuts out a bunch of different critical information points, which was like stuff that would make her story not make sense. Like, it cuts out like which baby's a boy, which baby's a girl, like the like,
Wow, the details.
Right. And so she adds all of this on the top right. But I want you to look at the top right. I want you to look at the time code right here and see how it doesn't move. That time code is not moving. That 11
11:29:32 a.m.
That should be ticking because this is a video. It's not ticking, right? And then
No.
the other thing that I have redacted here is her name. It says Jane Doe, her real name, but it should have said Doe Jane. So we noticed all these things and we called it out as fraud. And as soon as we called it out, she said, "I didn't send that." She said, "My ex must have sent that. My ex, Greg, who I have a restraining order against," again, because she gets them so easily, "my ex must have hacked into my account." And we go, "What are you talking about? You sent this to this person. You sent it to that person." And she just denies it. And then she thinks that we're the ones sort of defaming her, when it's so obvious what's going on here. And again, this is literally one of so many different pieces of evidence, which again, I'll continue to show you. So another piece of evidence, her starting in January. So this happens in the fall. In the fall, she claims she's pregnant. And about a day or two later, Clayton says, "I didn't even have sex with her. We just had oral sex." And then that's when everyone goes, "Whoa, what, really?" And then it became a little interesting. Well, starting in January, she finally claimed she had a miscarriage, which we knew would happen. We just didn't know the timeline of when she said she would miscarry, because in late October, she showed up to court with a very pregnant belly.
Yeah, I remember seeing that in the court video.
Very pregnant belly. And now, and she claimed, "Oh, I was 20 something weeks pregnant," whatever. And so anyway, the point is that her story keeps changing. We've provided a scenario where each of her changed stories is wrong. Like, no matter when she says she had the miscarriage, it's wrong. And we've got an answer to everything, from her HCG levels being completely fraudulent. So a lot of things happened recently where she has, I guess, submitted actual evidence of what her HCG test is. And let me pull up some of this stuff for you. And HCG is like one of the leading ways to tell an indicator of pregnancy. So it doesn't mean you are pregnant. It just means like you should probably go get an ultrasound because you're testing positive for probably being pregnant. So she knows all of this is going to test positive due to whatever reason. I don't know if it's horse vet medication or what, but she knows, like she just knows she's going to test. And then, so let me show you. I'll export this image and share it with you. But the point is that she uses that information to then, claim she's pregnant, and that HCG level, when you take a pregnancy test, it just says you're either pregnant or you're not. And again, that's an indicator, right? Well, what she didn't realize is that when you actually test those hard numbers, you can prove if somebody's like completely fibbing or not. And that's what we started to do. And her real HCG number tested at 102 in October, which 102 would be the level it would test like your first week. It's very weak. I have a copy of her emailing me from a Sonora medical lab saying she had 140,000 HCG in October. I didn't even know I had that copy until recently because she sent me all this information when I was trying to ignore her. And Clayton at the time also blocked her. So we were sitting on this hard copy evidence that she committed fraud. And
so wait a minute though. So she actually contacted you and started kind of trying to send you evidence that she was pregnant, and like it turned out she's actually incriminating herself.
I will share that with you right now. Sorry, I wasn't prepared, but I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay.
So
it's okay.
Because her new lawyer's threatening to sue me into homelessness, all these words he's saying, I get this information, and I'm sitting at my computer a couple of weeks ago. My wife went into, we thought we were going into labor like 3 weeks ago, and it turns out it was a different issue. I hadn't slept in a couple of days, and I get back home and I'm sitting at my computer, and I'm not kidding. I'm not trying to make this like an outer body experience, but for the first time in months, I go, let's go through some old emails, and I'm going to share with you what I went through. So I go through these old emails and I feel like I never looked at this before because it didn't make sense to me. And what I'm about to share with you right now are the emails on there's two different things going on here. These are the same exact documents except for something key. This is the actual result that showed up in her actual HIPAA release. She tested positive for HCG.
There's a name there. I don't know if that matters or not. Just
whatever. Okay. She tested positive here on for HCG 102 level, which is greater than a level that would. So this would trip a pregnancy test. This would be 5 months after she's supposed to be pregnant. 102 means you are not pregnant.
Not pregnant.
If you have this level 5 months into a pregnancy with a full belly, you probably bloated from too many burritos. Like this isn't it. This is not how science works. So now that she shares this, I go through my emails a couple weeks ago, and what do I find? And by the way, these are identical pieces of paper, same order number, same everything. I find this 135,000.
Whoa.
HCG.
That changed.
Not only did I didn't find this on the internet. She sent this to me months ago. I just never knew what it meant. So now that I know what the real number is, I share this immediately with the legal team here on Clayton's side, and they go, oh my gosh, this is 100% fraud.
Wow.
Of all of the things her lawyer has commented on, they haven't commented on this. So what I've learned, so she gets deposed March 1st or whenever she gets deposed. She dodged her first deposition, and then she finally shows up. And they ask her, have you committed any, have you doctored any images? Like we knew, like we hadn't even discovered this yet. So this wasn't even in the deposition, but she admitted to doctoring an ultrasound. She admitted to changing an ultrasound, but she says she only doctored it because she she only doctored it because she didn't want Clayton to find her and harass the company. So she claims she got an ultrasound at Planned Parenthood Mission Viejo. But on the top of it, it says SMIL Scottsdale Medical Imaging Labs. So she says, I did doctor it, but I only doctored the top part. The actual ultrasound's real. And they said, well, how can we verify it? She says, well, you can't because I went in anonymously. People have contacted Planned Parenthood. You don't go there anonymously. This is publicly funded money. You can be anonymous, but they have the records. You don't just get to show up and say, I want treatment. Give me a driver's license. Like, we need to know who you are, because I mean, imagine if you get sick and then sue them, all these medical.
Oh, so they do at least like ask for an ID versus voting or something. Like you will get it.
I'm not. Keep me on track here. So here we go. I mean, I need a brownie. So let's go back to 2021. Victim number 3, Greg Gillespie. So here's an image that she sent to Greg Gillespie on the left. Now, this is the image. If you could look at this image all day long and just see an ultrasound image, she figured out how to put the name, the right way. It's a lot of this.
It's pretty easy to like copy shit like that when you're, when you got Photoshop or whatever.
This is the GA. I think that's supposed to be the date of your last period or whatever. I don't know how it's called, but you got all this and this and that. But this is the ultrasound. And again, this is a verified copy of an ultrasound she texted to Greg Gillespie. And we find out Greg finds out by reverse image searching that the original is right here. 5 weeks and 2 days. So it says LMP, last menstrual period, or whatever the hell it's called, right? So that's how they measure a pregnancy, not based on the day you conceived, which she says in past instances, no, I got pregnant on this day. It's based on your last, so she's been proven wrong. You only know these things if you had babies. You go, that's not
if you get pregnant. Yeah, if you have a baby.
No, I would have known these things, but at the time when this was happening in the fall, without the public knowing, we were going through the beginning stages of our pregnancy. We delayed announcing it. You're supposed to wait till 12 weeks because, miscarriages do happen and things like that. Now, this ultrasound sadly came from a blog where it was called the vanishing twin syndrome, which is where one of the twins is not viable and vanishes, goes away. Okay. Gets absorbed in the body and just disappears. Not necessarily. I guess technically it would be a miscarriage, but it's not something you notice. It just disappears, right? So one of these, one of these twins here survives and is 8 years old. We find out that the person whose ultrasound this was ripped off from is somebody who's part of an organization for mothers who have experienced fetal death. Ooh. She's not happy right now.
Ooh, I bet.
And I've spoken to her. She's considering lawsuits.
A lawsuit?
And we're told, I said, look, let my good-natured audience, because trust me, there's more good than bad out there. Let me throw the best birthday party for your 8-year-old son this summer. Like, please let us throw some money at you. Big, I'll be there running the dunk tank. We'll have a blast, right? So hopefully she'll let us do that, because she has seen the generosity of others. But I can't not share this. No, I'm not sharing her identity. It's highly triggering to her. But she went 8 years without knowing. Or it wouldn't be 8 years. She went since 2021 not knowing that this was being used.
Is there a statute on that though?
I don't know. But what I do know is, as we were looking at these back to back, and as we looked at this, there's this big ball here, which we could never really figure out what that was.
Yeah, like what is that blurry, weird? Yeah.
I'm walking you through what we did. But as we looked to the right of this ball is where we started to see what appeared to be abnormalities. And when you look into those abnormalities,
you said zooming in,
is when you start seeing the Fiverr logo.
I see it.
Oh, no. I had to make sure that this wasn't placed there and I wasn't being pranked. This in the original text she sent him. Now, she then claims, I never sent those to him. He's making that up. I never claimed twins. Well, as a man who probably spent $100,000 in legal fees, victim number 3, Greg Gillespie, he actually knew he was being conned, and he recorded audio of her calling him, where she says, zoom in on the one on the left. And he goes, I don't get it. I can't see. And she says, no, it's right there. So he's got a text message coming from her where she sent this. He's got a voice note of her walking him through it. It's bulletproof. And yet she's still saying, nope, didn't do it. Not me.
I guess it's just like the deny tactic, right? Like even when you get busted lying, like just deny, because they won't be able to really pin it on you as long as you admit, right? Like if you admit something.
Now, imagine that her lawyer's still claiming they've got a multi-million-dollar defamation suit against folks like me, and we're part of this crazy cult.